and welcome to the 76th episode of Tomes and Tunes. I am your host, Arielle Silver. I am an East Coaster living on the West Coast. I live in Los Angeles. I'm coming to you from my little she shed in my backyard. And I'm a singer-songwriter and a yoga teacher and creative writing teacher. And this is the 76th episode of talking about books and swapping songs with songwriters from around the world. And truly, I have been going around the world with this show lately. Last week was Helen Austin from the band Big Little Lions, and she is based in British Columbia, Canada. This week we are traveling to Sweden, and we are going to be talking to Leah of Leah and the Loved Ones. I want to say, well, maybe I won't say anything yet. Maybe I will just bring Leah right in right now. Hi.
Hi. Nice to
Leah,
be here.
I gotta say, you and I, we played the Club Passim campfire, I think it was, maybe Memorial Day, like the May version, because they do one in May and they do one in September every year.
Yeah, it was.
It was online, it was virtual, just like this. And besides loving your music that you played that night, and also I seem to remember the room that you were in when you were performing. I don't think you were in the same room that you're in right now.
No, I was not. I was in my studio. I had like my piano
Yeah.
behind me and like some plants
Yeah,
and stuff. Yeah. So I made like a little scene to make
Yeah,
it cozy.
it was nice. And the other thing I remember about liking what you're doing, and I didn't know anything about you at the time, but I really liked just the name, Leah and the Loved Ones, particularly because you're based in Sweden, and I just found out that you are from Germany originally, and it's just such a literate English name for a musical group.
Yeah.
That I was kind of struck by that idea that it's not Leah and the L word in Swedish or German. It's Leah and the loved ones in English. And can you tell me a little bit about that? Where did that come from?
Actually, I could make up like a super romantic story about this one. But the thing is, I started out with only Leah as my like band name, and our first record was released under the name Leah. It's called Diamonds. And it's impossible to find. You can't find it anywhere. Like, not on Spotify. It's like super hard to find because there are so many people called Leah and like other artists and stuff.
Yeah.
So then I thought I really want to find a nice band name, like a proper band name. And then I started thinking about like how are band names like constructed and stuff. And then I made this mind map of like my life, and I wanted to be something with like friendship or togetherness or something. And so it was actually I was actively searching for a band name. It like didn't just come to me in like this moment of inspiration.
Yeah.
And I guess I was thinking of Florence and the Machine, and like there are all these band names that I like blah 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 and something.
Yeah.
And then it became Leah and the Loved Ones, since I play solo quite a lot. So the Loved Ones can be my tunes. The Loved Ones can be the people I play with, which almost always the case. And then people make jokes about it and say Leah and the Late Ones, and Leah and the Lazy Ones when we come blah blah. It's easy to make jokes with. Yeah, and sometimes it's just the people I sing about or play for. So I just kind of fell in love with the combination of words when I found them, like after researching with my little mind maps.
Okay.
Yeah.
First of all, I love mind maps. I use them all the time. Second of all, I love the idea of the loved ones sometimes referring to the people that you're playing with, and sometimes referring to the people that you're playing for, and sometimes being the songs that you're playing, or the people that inspired the songs. It could be so many things, and wow, that's really, not to overuse the word, but lovely.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, and now I'm thinking of Leah and the Loved Ones, Florence and the Machine. Here in Los Angeles, we have Abby and the Myth. What are some other ones that are just that first? Oh, also Elizabeth in the Catapult. She is based in New York now.
Now you got me on the spot. Now they like poof disappeared out of my head. But there are more.
Yeah, there's something nice about that just the first name and the and the something.
Yeah. They're Nikki and the Dove.
Oh.
It's a Swedish band.
Oh.
and it has always this rhythm.
So when you were coming up with the name and the loved ones, you had a few languages to choose from. Why did you choose English?
I chose English since I write in English. Almost all the songs I write are in English.
Oh.
And I've been actually thinking about why I don't write in my mother tongue German or in Swedish, which has basically become my second mother tongue, or my second fluent language.
Your stepmother tongue.
My stepmother tongue, exactly, or my godmother tongue or something.
Yeah.
But I think all the music I listen to, like almost all of it, 95% or something, is in English, and very much of the poetry I read is in English. So for me, it's just it's the closest to. Yeah, when I have a feeling, the words that come out are in English. I think it's because of my influence of English, like music with English language. And then for me, it didn't really make sense to have a band name in another language. It felt most round this way.
What would it be in Swedish if you were to directly translate the loved ones?
Lea och de älskade.
That's a mouthful. Say it one more time.
Lea och de älskade.
Älskade.
Yeah.
And what would it be in German?
Lea und die Geliebten. Yeah. Geliebt is to be loved in German.
Geliebt.
Yeah. Yeah.
Geliebt. That word is like geliebt. There's something about that makes me think of like when a fish moves its mouth in the water. Geliebt. Geliebt.
Geliebt. Yeah, a bit like that. Yeah, a bit like that. Yeah.
I think you really missed out on the opportunity to use a fish as a logo.
I really did. I maybe will have like this German phase in my career. I will use that one.
Yeah. That's really interesting. And you said that you I don't know, when you said that you didn't want to make a romantic story about it, but that I love that story. I love the way that you kind of came to that.
Yeah. Oh, that's good to hear.
Yeah.
Yeah, I maybe feel more rational than I am.
Speaking of which, so you hear the general you. We hear music and mathematics, kind of as sort of like two bedfellows, that seem to not get along and yet often do. And you actually do teach math.
Yeah, I do.
And also obviously are a musician. And I'm thinking about this because of what you just said about sounding more rational than you are. Yeah. Where does math come from in your life, and music? Like where separately, where do those things, your interest in them, come from, and how do they intersect? Yeah.
I can start with music. I grew up in a quite musical family. My mother used to be a dancer. She's not anymore because she's like, her knees started to hurt, so she started doing something else. But she was a beautiful dancer, and her family, all of them are like singing and playing all the time. So I've been surrounded by music a lot. And my father is an actor, so there's been a lot of culture always in music, and they let us play instruments and have lessons, like piano lessons, and sing together and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. So music has always been a part of my life, and I always loved it. I've been playing since I was 5 or something. Yeah. I learned the piano, and then I learned some chords on the guitar. My mother used to play the classical guitar, so it's been like kind of a natural part of my life. Yeah. And I always sang. Also, I really loved singing since I was a little child, and so that was quite for me quite. It felt natural to always play, and then also have it as a main subject in high school, and then continue with music afterwards, because it was something that fulfilled me and that I've always been kind of good at. It was easy for me to learn pieces on the piano. It was something I loved doing. And at the same time, I always loved maths, and especially the last 4 years of my school career. I had a wonderful teacher, the best teacher I've ever had, and both as a person and as a teacher, I really loved him, and he made me really good at maths. I mean, I think it's not only the teacher's fault if someone becomes good at maths, but it's a part of it.
It does help, yeah.
It does help, and I think since I was 17 or so, I thought I want to become, or even earlier, my goal for school was to have the highest grade in music and the highest grade in maths, and I didn't care about anything else, and that's what I did. And then I thought, when I think I was 17, I thought someday I will be a math teacher,
Huh.
which not so glamorous at all, but it's always been in my head, and I've always liked explaining maths, and have
Yeah.
been super interested in the concept of understanding, like how people understand things. I've been always been super interested and fascinated by that. So I think that's also the part of my teaching. I'm more fascinated by, or of, or in, or what do you say, uh, humans and understanding more than the subject math itself. I would never become like a pure mathematician.
Right.
That would be too dry. I would like miss everything else in life if I only
Yeah.
would like research in maths. So they kind of coexisted always, and they never really. I've never been writing music, like mathematical kind of compositions,
Right.
or been writing songs about equations. It's like it feels super weird to me to combine them.
Yeah.
But I think I'm a Gemini as well, so I think they're just they're
The
like two
duality.
sides, a duality. Yeah, I like yeah. So that's basically the story.
That's interesting what you said about, first of all, your love for your teacher.
Mm.
Is that partly why you wanted to become a teacher? Because you learned so much as a person and as a, and the subject of math, but also just how to be a person from this other teacher, and so that
Mm.
you wanted to have that effect on other people? Or was it more the subject and you like helping people to understand?
Yeah, but I think both parts. I've always been like attracted by numbers and
Yeah.
mathematics, and then combined with him, who was so human and like really not nerdy with maths. He was like more interested in the development of the students, and like super happy when someone with 0 points suddenly wrote 2 points. Like even if the development was super little, he was becoming so excited about it. Like, oh wow, that's amazing. So I think I've been really fascinated by his way of approaching it. And then also there are a lot of teachers in my family. I think there's something. Also, I'm I'm kind of a leader. I've always easily led groups. It's like not hard for me, so I'm quite comfortable in that position as well. Yeah, but I think he was important to like kind of push me in that direction even more,
Yeah.
maybe.
There's something about
Mm.
math that is, I think, particularly, the subject matter aside, particularly important at this moment. It feels important to me in in a course of study.
Mm.
Having a logical, rational progression, that is either correct or incorrect. I
Mm.
feel like right now, at least in the States, but I think it's worldwide. And maybe this is always the case. Maybe I'm just getting older and more aware of it. That people want to combine 2 and 3 and come up with 7.
Mm.
Not with math, but with other things.
Yeah.
Combining two things in a way that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
And then holding up the number 7 and saying, "Here, look, here's the proof.
Yeah.
I got to this," and but the argument doesn't hold up.
Yeah.
I feel like that's happening in the time of COVID all around the States. I think the world, but maybe it's
I think it's
just
worldwide.
yeah,
Yeah, and it's interesting that you say that people try to combine 2 and 3, even though it doesn't make sense, and then hold up the 7. And I think that they're doing that with, and the only reason is to try to make sense of it all. It's like they're really trying to combine 2 and 3 and to get 7. It's like I need to make sense of this mess. So
yeah.
that's why they've become convinced of this like
And then enough
strange, super
enough
strange things.
people enough people are holding up 7 that they feel that the argument for the proof is just in the like the mass. Like
Yeah,
if we have more people, then there's more gravity. It just has greater
yeah,
mass, and
yeah,
so just by that we can say that it's true.
yeah,
But it's still 2 and 3 still are not 7.
yeah. And in so many examples, it's how it works. Like if one person writes a stupid song that nobody listens to, then you could say it's nothing. But if somebody writes a stupid song and suddenly a million people sing along, then you would say, this is legendary. It truly is. Like with something, with some things, it is that way, and with other things, really not. So you have to like know where to put your logic and know where to put your like feeling of logic or something.
Yeah, actually, maybe you just hit the nail on the head, though. Maybe that's where it comes from, that idea of a stupid song. If you play it enough times and you have it, on the radio enough times, people hear it. Even if they didn't like it at first, they start to like it because it's familiar. And so maybe it's the same thing with the 2 and 3. It's like, it makes no sense to be 7 at first, but then you hear it enough times, it becomes familiar, and we tend to agree with it then because it's familiar. Oh yeah, I've always known that. That is fact. No, from the origin it wasn't right, but now, now it's still not right, but it feels right because it's familiar.
Yeah. And there's this in philosophy of science, I think you can talk about it. I don't know the English word for it, but there's a phenomenon that you can prove anything. You can prove anything. You can come up with anything and you can prove it. But the important thing is that the thing you come up with has to withstand all the tries to destroy it.
That's scientific method right there.
Yeah, that's scientific method, and that's I think that's why the atmospheres become so how do you say, aggressive, because people come up with all these weird things that they can prove kind of. I mean, you can say this I don't even have to say anything. There's so many things like circulating around that you could find weird proofs for anywhere, and then as soon as someone tries to say but then there's chaos.
Yeah.
Because suddenly people are confronted with like proper science, and everything falls apart. This logic that they've been building in a like, in this attempt of finding some kind of logic or sense in things.
Yeah. You mentioned in the beginning, in the pre-show before we went live, that you ended up in Sweden. Somewhat because you were interested in the folklore. You had gone there, you had spent some time. I'm curious about that. That feels like a different direction from like what we're talking about right here. When you talk about folklore, you're talking about culture and history and stories and narratives. And what was it about that drew you?
It was
Where'd you encounter?
What a beautiful question. At the school, I was an exchange student here in Sweden for 1 year in 2005 to 2006, and I met a girl named Moa on my school. We became super close friends very quickly, and she is a cello player and plays tunes. She plays the folklore. So she taught me a lot of tunes. I played the soprano saxophone, and she taught me all these tunes.
So when you say folklore, you mean like folk music. You're talking music rather than stories?
Yeah, folk music.
Okay. Keep going. That's fascinating.
Yeah.
Keep going. Yeah.
Yeah, in Germany you say folklore and you mean the music, but you thought of the whole package of it's like the folk music. Yeah. Folk music, like the songs on in Sweden, it's a lot of fiddle, it's a lot of violin.
Yeah.
And it's only taught by ear, and I just love that you could just sit and you have this. You always stamp on the 3 and the 1, 2, 3. And then they just start to play these songs, and then everybody comes and plays along and knows the songs, and it's so musical and so groovy in a way. And here are like dances. There can be one violinist and 40 people are dancing to it, since it's so rhythmical. And my soul kind of rhymed with the tonality as well. I don't know why. It just felt very natural to me. So it was playing with her and going to some folk music festivals. And it was so new to me also. It felt very, very exciting, since in Germany we don't really have folk music since the Second World War. It was like, it's not, nobody plays folk music because nobody wants to be nationalistic, not even in a good sense. So.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, which is a whole nother topic, I guess.
Yeah. Wow.
So I was really.
I'm glad we're going on tour together, because we have no end of things to talk about while we're.
Like the Nazis, and then you can like go on forever.
Yeah. Wow. Maybe this is a good spot for you to play a song.
Yeah.
Is this going to be a new one or one recorded one?
I recorded one.
Okay, cool.
And I would love to say a couple of words about it.
Please. Yeah.
Since it's the song that was the beginning of my writing process for the second album. I've released 2 albums. And the second album, or it's an EP actually, it's 6 songs. It's called Letters. Like letters that you write, like on paper, not
Yeah.
the letter. And I got the idea because I got a letter from my friend Dido, who's a sailor, and she just wrote this super poetic message to me. There was, "You should come sailing. I'll pick you up one day, sooner or later. Maybe just a few years before we die, 2 very old ladies. Faces made of wood and eyes filled with water and light. Period." And I thought, thanks for the lyrics. I will turn them into a song. And then I felt so inspired by things people have written to me or things that I've been writing to someone else, and like the whole concept of letters. Yeah. So this song was kind of the start, and then all the other songs were based upon letters that I've been writing after that. So this is like the mother or the firstborn of the album, and it's called "You Should Come Sailing."
Beautiful.
So here we go. You should come sailing. I'll pick you up someday, sooner or later. You should come sailing. I'll pick you up someday, sooner or later. I'll pick you up someday. Maybe just a few years before we die. 2 very old ladies, hands warm and dry. Faces made out of wood and eyes filled with water and light. You should come sailing out, pick you up one day, sooner or later. I'll pick you up one day, sooner or later. Thank you.
Beautiful. Yeah.
Thanks. It's funny how it feels that to have an audience, even if we just sit like this.
I know.
So it's nice. It's a special feeling.
Yeah, in March of 2020, when the shutdown first happened in Los Angeles, a friend of mine, a songwriter in Texas, Natalie Price, wonderful songwriter herself, she started a show on Instagram, and she was
Mm.
inviting every single day. She did it. I don't. It's still going on, but not. It's not a daily
Do I
thing.
don't
I
remember?
think it's still going on. But she was inviting first songwriters and then artists of all different kinds
Yeah.
to just be on Instagram live with her for a little while. And we got on, and she asked me if I would play a song, and then I asked her if she would play a song. And she, I don't think was, reciprocating with her own song every time,
Mm.
but, it was so nice for me to hear her play and to like be in the audience watching her play, and then for her to be listening to my song, that was one of the seeds of this show. I felt
Yeah.
so good at a time when things were just feeling so isolated, you
Yeah.
know.
Can imagine.
Yeah, and somebody recently asked me. I was playing a show up on the central coast of California, about 3 hours north of here.
Mm.
And one of the people that I was playing with, he said, "Would you do this in like side by side? Would you sit with a songwriter and do this where you're in the same room?"
Mm.
And that is something that when if I'm on tour on a Thursday at this particular time, for sure,
Mm.
it might happen. It hasn't happened yet, but yeah. It's
Oh,
nice to
that's
have an
beautiful.
audience. Yeah, but
Yeah.
that's a beautiful song. Are you still friends with that person?
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. I just met her the other week. I was actually in Amsterdam. She lives there.
Oh,
I was in Amsterdam to visit, and there was this little living room concert, and
yeah.
she was there. So I haven't played it for her so many times. So just last Saturday, actually, I met her and played for her.
Wow.
So yeah,
How cool is that?
yeah,
I love the line about the eyes
mm,
filled with water and light.
yeah. I love that too. It
Yeah.
feels like also that's about becoming an old lady. It feels like
Yeah.
old
Yeah.
eyes can be like watery and
Yeah.
like almost already on the other side, like with the light. It's
Oh, yeah.
something very
Like
yeah, very special.
ethereal. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. I think when I'm an old lady, I'll probably be constantly crying.
Yes.
I think I just will. I mean, even now at the end of the day, this started a while back, but it's like at the end of the day, my eyes are just watery at the end of the day.
Yeah.
But also, I'm just moved by so
Yeah.
many things.
Yeah,
I
I
think that
understand.
will continue.
Yeah, I hope so. Ah, it's the best. It's the best to start crying to like simple things.
I remember when I was
Yeah.
a little girl, I was the flower girl at my aunt's wedding, and my grandmother was crying, and I remember asking her, "Why are you crying?" Because I think maybe when we're little, we don't. At least for me, it never occurred to me that I would cry at something joyful.
Well,
Maybe
mm,
it's that wabi sabi that there's something about time that changes us, and I mean it changes everything about us. But also, when I was little, I only cried when I was hurt.
yeah.
But
Yeah. Yeah.
as I get older, I cry, at just fleeting beauty,
Yeah.
really.
Yeah. Do you get the? Does it move you just the fact that time is moving?
Oh gosh, time is such an interesting thing, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is.
It really,
Because that
it's
kills me like
everything.
all the time. Yeah. Yeah.
It's everything. Yeah, it's so what a giant concept time is,
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm. So we were two sentimentals meeting.
Yeah, I think so.
On the internet.
Two
It's so
rational
funny.
sentimentals.
Trying to be rational. Maybe it's also in like survival strategy to be kind of rational and
Mm,
structured, to not drown in this ocean of tears about things passing
mm.
or something.
Yeah, maybe that rationality is the structure that holds us up.
Yeah,
Um,
I kind of think so.
yeah, so that we're not just swept away.
Yeah.
Yeah, interesting idea of that. The
Mm.
water of time and events, but the solidity of rationality
Yeah.
gives you, like a mooring, something to
Yeah.
tether to. Um, so you play. So that's interesting. I played clarinet and you played saxophone.
Yeah.
And you studied jazz, and I went to jazz school.
I did.
Where did you when did you sort of like do you still play jazz? Did you
So,
shift to like how, was there a
some
break or a fork in the road, or is it all, do you think of it as all kind of bundled together
I think it's bundled together in that way that I feel. Sometimes I feel my musicality, or like the way I've been playing music all my life, is quite eclectic. Like was a kid, I played like classical piano, and then I did some jazz, and then I did that. It was like very, um, and so in some years I felt like what the hell am I doing? I'm not doing anything properly and just like hopping around,
yeah
until I realized that it's all music. It's all
yeah
expressing something through tones and
yeah
tonality and chords and harmony and all that stuff.
yeah
And then I kind of felt home in a way after that
mm.
realization, because I'm making these detours, but something that's always been with me is folk. Like I've always been listening to these musicians. I've always been listening to Dylan. I've always been listening to Joni Mitchell. It's like what soothes my soul, and I've always been singing and like accompanying me with the guitar, like singing Hotel California when I was 14 or something. So that has been like the most constant part of my musicality, or my musical being. So I think that has always been there, and the jazz as well as the folk music, the Swedish folk music, has been kind of detours.
Hmm.
So I used to play jazz for 2 years at this school where I studied, and very much, and it was also a lot of free improvisation.
Yeah.
It was like a kind of free jazz phase also in that school. So I didn't play so much like ching chicketing traditional jazz, but more maybe you could say Scandinavian jazz, more hovering kind of free poppy jazz. And I don't play that so much anymore.
Yeah.
I'm in one quintet called Donkey Five, and we play quite punky, hardcore free jazz, loud and wild, which I love.
Yeah.
Like,
I love that.
and very like
Awesome.
weird compositions, but very energetic. Children usually love it because it's like crazy music. And so that's it. That I do play, and I sometimes can kind of miss playing standards, like playing jazz standards. It's such a cozy. I think it's a bit like folk songs, like playing the classics
Yeah.
together with songwriters. It's like playing standards with jazz. It's like, oh, can't we just play Autumn Leaves? Yeah, let's do it. And then everybody
Yeah.
knows it, and you just play along.
Yeah.
And I think I will get there sometime again. I
Yeah.
think I will have another little round of jazz in my life, but maybe not so serious, but just for fun, like being a 60-year-old lady having a jazz band with my girlfriends. That's
With your
like my dream.
yeah, with your tears too.
Exactly.
Um, you said that when you encountered the folk music in Sweden, that you specifically mentioned that it was just an oral art form, that people learned the music from the music rather than from the page.
Yeah.
And I was classically trained as a woodwind player, and from the start trained to read music and to play music that way. And part of what I think in college was sort of when I started to make a break from. I was just writing about this today, actually. That was sort of when I started to fork away from classical music, and I was also playing Renaissance winds. And I loved it, but I felt like there was something about my studies of music that was taking me further away from music.
Yeah.
And I wanted to get off of the page. I felt like I almost wasn't hearing. I wanted to just somehow find that intuitive, playful listening, all of that stuff with music that I had felt somehow through my formal music studies that I had kind of lost along the way. When you encountered that Swedish folk music that was just being taught, the fiddle tunes with the dancers, was that something that you were thinking about? Were you originally trained to read music?
Yeah, from the start. Since I started playing music with the classical piano.
Yeah.
So I was like really not an improviser when I was younger, like the beginnings.
Yeah.
And not when I also played the saxophone. I mean, I played jazz, but it was like cheap music jazz. I didn't really learn improvisation. I played big band. That's also like super much cheap music. Did you also play the big band?
I didn't. I did
No?
not. I wanted to. When I was in middle school, so that was like seventh and eighth grade. I
Mm.
wanted to be in the jazz band, but
Yeah.
I was playing clarinet, and I wanted to play clarinet in the jazz band, and
Yeah.
the director of the band said, "No, you can't play clarinet in the jazz band. You have to play saxophone." And so he handed me a tenor. He handed me a tenor saxophone, but I really loved the clarinet.
Yeah, and
I
it's a
didn't want to
great
play the
music in
saxophone.
jazz.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah,
So I
really good
actually
people.
it was that was an interesting point because I played sax for 2 years at that point, and then started playing oboe as
Mm.
well. And
Yeah.
eventually the saxophone I just put it aside and I went into the oboe and deeper into clarinet. Clarinet was sort of the thing that continued on, but but oboe took me even deeper into classical and further away from jazz
Yeah.
at that
Yeah, yeah,
time.
I
Yeah,
see.
but I had numerous teachers growing up say, no, you can't play. If you want to play jazz, you have to play sax. You can't play clarinet.
That's such a weird thing to say.
Yeah. I
Jesus
think that
Christ.
anything like
Yeah.
that is a weird thing to say to a
Yeah.
child who's expressing
Yeah.
an interest in something.
Yeah.
Instead of just,
Yeah.
yes, let's get you doing this.
Yeah. I mean, there's so many jazz clarinetists. I mean, you
I
could
know,
just
yeah.
pick any record.
I
Yeah.
know. That was my argument at the time too, but it
Yeah.
didn't work.
No, oh, that's such a pity.
Yeah.
Yeah. Since jazz is, I mean, it's a bit more playful if you have the right teacher that can like
Yeah.
g- give you the tools that make it easy to improvise, and not
Yeah.
like a rhythm changes and you like get like a explosion in the head because it's so difficult. Yeah.
So
I forgot the question. So
it was I don't even know, but
No.
but as long as we're talking about paper, I'm remembering, of course, that this is Tomes and Tunes, and so Leah and the Loved Ones. Maybe the Loved Ones can include what you're reading. What have you been reading lately?
I've been reading a book that has been blowing my mind and touching me so deeply, like no book has ever done, or maybe not for a very long time at least. And it's a trilogy. Do you say that? Trilogy by a Hungarian writer called Agota Christoph, or Agota Christoph, maybe you would say. It sounds almost like Agatha Christie, but it's Agota Christoph, and yeah, I think she a piece writer.
Agatha Christie.
Agatha
Is
Christie.
right, okay.
Yeah,
But this is not that writer.
No, it's not the same.
Like
it's funny that the name's almost the same, but she's called Agota Christoph from Hungary in the beginning, and she's written 3 novels, and you can buy them separately, but they were meant to be a trilogy. And the first one is called The Notebook, the second one is called The Proof, and the third one is called The Third Lie. And they all make like this big of a book together, so it's like they're not too long. It's like not 3 big books, but it's like and she is a very, very interesting writer. I think she was born in Hungary, and then she had to flee from there after the Second World War, when the communist revolution came. She had to flee from there and fled to Switzerland with her little baby and husband, and was 5 years in Switzerland, and she hated it completely. She has said herself that 2 years in communist prison would have been better than the 5 years in Neuchâtel, I think she was, in Switzerland. So after 5 years in Switzerland, she left her husband, went to France to learn French, and then started writing in French. So her language is the language of a person in exile, like the language of a refugee. And it's like both her experiences that she takes with her, and her language is like extremely clear, and she only says the most necessary things. It's super unsentimental, and quite brutal in a way also. It like really hits you. There's like nothing, there's this little lovely place with the sunlight falling through the trees. It would never be anything like this, just like really hitting you in a way. And yeah, so like language wise and atmosphere wise, the book is very unique, I think. I mean, I'm not like a connoisseur of all the literature in the world, of course, but I've never read anything like it. And it's also then in the book, is the first part is about 2 boys that are twins, it's also about war. It's about the time in war, the last times of the Second World War and the first times of the first years of the communist revolution. That's where the book kind of plays out. So the Notebook is the first book called, is about these twins called Klaus and Lukas, which is the same letters but in different orders. If you write the word Lukas and you can just change those and it becomes Klaus. So it's, yeah, and they're these two boys and they kind of live with this old woman and they can't be with their mother and they just try to train themselves in different things and they are like, they're making all these exercises. They're doing exercises in being deaf and numb, and they're doing exercises and not feeling any pain, and they're doing these exercises in writing, and they write everything down, and the war goes on, and there are all these stories of there's some violence and there's love and there's loneliness, and it's like a very touching story, the first book, and then in the second book things kind of twist so you don't even know anymore what's real, and in the third book that's called The Third Lie, you become even more confused about who is who. Are there two brothers or is it just only one actually? And so it's like on a meta level about what happens with a person's narrative in war, like when things fall apart and you have to kind of tell your story, but the story is too horrible to tell, so you make up something to comfort yourself or make up something to kind of explain, like making 7 out of 2 and 3 in a way.
It sounds like it's like fractured and fragmented, and so the pieces the connective tissue between these fragments of the real person, who knows if the connective tissue is fiction or nonfiction.
Yeah, right? Wow, it's very much like that. You like stand there when the book is finished and you're like, what just happened? Kind of. So it's very strong. I thought it was this very strong experience. And also challenging, since you, in some parts of the book, just have to let go the need of understanding exactly what's happening. Because also they change name and then they spell them. It's like, what the hell is going on? And
can you type the name of the writer in the
chat?
In the chat, yeah. What language is it written in, or what language are you reading it in? You said that she writes in French. Are you reading it in French?
No, my French is not that good. So actually, I read it in Swedish.
Okay.
Yeah, I got to borrow the book from my friend.
Yeah.
And I've already given it back, so I can't show you the cover.
So it's called
I read it
Notebook,
in Swedish.
Proof, and the
the
Lies?
Notebook, exactly. The Notebook, the Proof, and the Third Lie are the 3 parts, and I would recommend to read them all in one. But they are written in the original language is French, even though her mother tongue is Hungarian. So I think
you're reading it in translation in Swedish, even though your mother tongue is German.
Exactly. So sorry.
Wow.
So I guess it's the most accurate and real, of course, if you read it in French, to get all the nuances of her language.
Yeah, I'm really interested in literary translation. I did a short study in graduate school on literary translation and was just very humbled and awakened to, all of the books that I have read and never paid attention to the translator and what their role is. But yeah, that's fascinating. Yeah. I'm very interested. I wonder if this book has been, or this trilogy has been translated into English.
It has.
Okay.
It has.
English is really like the lingua franca of the world, so I'd be surprised if it wasn't.
Yeah. Actually, I found it as a PDF online.
Yeah.
Should I link it?
Yes, please. Share a little bit.
And now you will come to the chapter that I will read for you later. But it's like, I think you can. It's the Notebook. It's only the first part, but you can read the whole thing. It's very.
Will you share a little bit of it?
Yeah, I would love to. And then you have to tell me about your book as well.
I will.
Afterwards. Yeah, so I'm reading from a chapter. It's chapter number 20, I think. It has very many very short chapters. And this one is called Our Studies, and it's from the Notebook. So it's from the part of the book where there's 2 twin brothers. So here we go. For our studies, we have Father's dictionary and the Bible that we found here at grandmother's in the attic. We have lessons in spelling, composition, reading, mental, arithmetic, mathematics, and learning by heart. We use the dictionary for spelling to obtain explanations, but also to learn new words, synonyms, and antonyms. We use the Bible for reading aloud, dictation, and learning by heart. We are therefore learning whole pages of the Bible by heart. This is how a composition lesson takes place. We are sitting at the kitchen table with our squared sheets of paper, our pencils, and the big notebook. We're alone. One of us says, "The title of your composition is Arrival at Grandmother's." The other says, "The title of your composition is Our Tasks." We start writing. We have 2 hours to write about the subject and 2 sheets of paper at our disposal. At the end of 2 hours, we exchange our sheets of paper. Each of us corrects the other's spelling mistakes with the help of the dictionary and, at the bottom of the page, writes good or not good. If it's not good, we throw the composition in the fire and try to write about the same subject in the next lesson. If it's good, we can copy out the composition into the big notebook. To decide whether it is good or not good, we have a very simple rule. The composition must be true. We must describe what is, what we see, what we hear, and what we do. For example, it is forbidden to write, "Grandmother is like a witch," but we are allowed to write, "People call grandmother the witch." It is forbidden to write, "The little town is beautiful," because the little town may be beautiful for us and ugly for someone else. Similarly, if we write, "The Batman is nice," this isn't the truth, because the Batman may be capable of nasty acts that we know nothing about. So we would simply write, "The Batman has given us some blankets." We would write, "We eat a lot of walnuts," and not, "We love walnuts," because the word love is not a definite word. It lacks precision and objectivity. To love walnuts and to love mother don't mean the same thing. The first expression designates a pleasant taste in the mouth, the second a feeling. Words that define feelings are very vague. It is better to avoid using them and to stick to the description of objects, human beings, and oneself, that is to say, to the faithful description of facts. That was it.
I am so intrigued. Thank
you
you.
are. Ah.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
You get a little writing lesson in there as well
Yeah.
about specificity.
Yeah. Yeah. So basically, like the first whole part of the book is that big notebook that the boys have been writing about their lives. So every chapter is like one of their compositions. But you understand that first, like way back in the book. But it's like, that's the way also this first part is written. Like only the truth. Only like, yeah, the way they describe it.
Yeah, and you're right. It's unsentimental, at least in that excerpt that you just read. Yeah. Describing what is and yeah, the beauty of unsentimental writing is that it leaves the reader plenty of room to feel.
Yeah.
If the writer, when the writer tells the reader how to feel, it leaves no room for the reader.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
But you can engage more deeply with the book.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah. Thank you. Ooh.
Yeah, thank you for lilistening.
Yeah, thank you
hope
for
you
sharing
read the
that.
whole thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm excited.
Yeah, oh, wonderful. What are you going to read? What do you have with you?
I'm reading, I just finished a book, a new novel called North by Brad Kessler. He was a writing mentor of mine. I adore him, and he is a wonderful writer. And that book is a story about 3 people. It takes place primarily in Vermont, but also in the journey. One of the characters is a refugee from Somalia, and she is trying to get to safety. And so her trek takes her on a great voyage, and then up into the United States, and then crossing the United States, trying to get to Canada, because the United States has become, in the time frame of the book, which is recent times, has become not a hospitable place for refugees.
Yeah.
And that book, I just finished it late last night. I stayed up just to finish it. And then I thought, well, today, and I brought that book in last week. Today I'm bringing in this book. Rebecca Solnit is a wonderful writer. Are you familiar with her?
Yeah. Is it has she written the guide of getting lost?
That's what this is.
Is it?
Mm-hmm.
Ah, wonderful. I haven't read the whole thing, but I love it. Yes.
Yeah.
Mm.
So I'm just going to read the very, very beginning of it.
Mm.
I actually started listening to this one. I always have, simultaneously I'm reading books, but also listening through Audible to different books. So I've always got like a few different books going on. And this is one that I had picked up on Audible, and then I just turned it off. She reads it herself. And I actually had to slow it down. I've never done this before with a book, but I had to get it at like a slower speed, and then I just discarded it entirely, and I decided I just wanted to read it at my own pace, the written page. So let me see here. I'll just read this little part. This is just right at the beginning. But yes, this is The Field Guide to Getting Lost by Rebecca Solnit. Leave the door open for the unknown, the door into the dark. That's where the most important things come from, where you yourself come from, and where you will go. 3 years ago, I was giving a workshop in the Rockies. A student came in bearing a quote from what she said was the pre-Socratic philosopher Meno. It read, "How will you go about finding that thing, the nature of which is totally unknown to you?" I copied it down and it has stayed with me since. I'll just read that question again. How will you go about finding that thing, the nature of which is totally unknown to you? The student made big transparent photographs of swimmers underwater and hung them from the ceiling with the light shining through them, so that to walk among them was to have the shadows of swimmers travel across your body in a space that itself came to seem aquatic and mysterious. The question she carried struck me as the basic tactical question in life. The things we want are transformative, and we don't know or only think we know what is on the other side of that transformation. Love, wisdom, grace, inspiration. How do you go about finding these things that are in some ways about extending the boundaries of the self into unknown territory, about becoming someone else? So I just read that at like a third of the pace that she reads on Audible. I mean, that's the pace that I need to read this, in order to fully contemplate what she's talking about,
Yeah.
So this will be a slow going book, but I love her writing. I'm so excited to read it.
Yeah. Very it struck a chord in me.
Yeah.
The unknownness of everything. I also think like what we've been talking about, in very uncertain times, that we have such a longing for making things understandable and tangible, and like and the thing that's the most scary is just to let go and to let things be in the dark, maybe. And all the things that you've just been reading is super beautiful.
Yeah. But maybe this goes back to what we were talking about earlier about the wateriness, the getting carried away or washed away or drowning, and that wateriness of the unknown. Maybe, I mean, for a little bit, maybe we can go with that. But if it's going on too long, we really need something solid to hold us, to keep us tethered, even as we're on this journey. I mean, it's like, it's one thing to swim across an ocean, but most of us would get on a ship, something solid, where we can like lie down at night, even if it's like moving, and where we can carry our food. Most of us would not choose to just swim the Atlantic Ocean, or it's too much for us to bear.
Yeah. To continue this book theme, have you read Siddhartha? by
Yeah.
Hermann
Yeah.
Hesse.
Yeah.
He has this river allegory
Yeah.
that like sitting next to the river, and like the river is kind of life, and this rivery thing that we were talking about as well, and that you can. I have this picture in my head. I don't know if it's from that book. I think so, that you can like stick your feet into the river and feel that kind of
Right.
like that
That
motion,
movement.
that
Yeah.
movement and the motion, and maybe even float with it. But that like state of being zen, or what you would call it, is like maybe sitting next to the river and contemplating it, or like being able to hop in and out, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe also hop in and out of control.
I like what she's saying here. You know, it makes me think about all the things that we want,
Mm,
all of the, growth that we want.
mm,
People say, I want love, I want, a particular career, I want a particular kind of life, I want a child, or whatever it is that people long for and try to take steps toward. Um, None of those things are an anchor point. Every single one of those is a journey itself. It's I
yeah.
want the journey. We say we want love, but what we're really wanting is the journey of love.
Mm,
And so if we can, like, a lot of times people say I want love, and then that relationship ends up, inevitably, of course, going through difficult times or challenges or whatever it is, or the process of finding that love is challenging, and we feel upset that we're in this challenging time. But the fact
mm,
is, when we first set out saying that that's what we wanted, what we were really asking for was a verb, not a noun.
yeah.
uh, you know
Yeah.
when people
That's true.
say I want a child, I mean, that's a whole unknown. That's a lot.
Yeah,
If they
that's
if
the
the
definition of unknown. Maybe
Right, and
even.
it's like,
Yeah.
okay, I want this journey that, whatever it is, like a million unknowns, but
Mm,
I'm curious about that journey. I want to take it, and you
yeah.
know, a lot of too often perhaps, people say, well, this is what I want, but that I didn't want all this other stuff along with it. But
Yeah.
it's the whole thing. It's the whole, you know,
Yeah.
maybe everything we want is, um, that journey into discovery of something new
Yeah.
about ourselves, that transformation.
Yeah. That's what we want deeply inside.
Yeah.
Because I think all these things we've mentioned, like love and, or yeah, love or a child or a career, for me, when I think of it, I think of them giving my life, or like something in them is also resonating with stability inside of me. Like to have
Mm.
a family is like having this stable unit.
Mm. Right.
It itself is a journey, but I don't have children of my own, but
Yeah.
like the thought of it is like, okay, then this is something stable. In what way it's stable, I don't know. Or like a career,
Right.
then I have a place to go to.
Yeah.
Or love is you long for love to like don't so you don't have to go out and like mingle with all these weird strangers. And then it's like also the search. So this it's such a extremely interesting duality that's maybe just life.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And time.
Mm,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm
Yeah,
thinking
this
of the
is.
song.
Oh, go ahead.
Sorry,
Yeah.
do you know the songwriter Anais Mitchell?
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess so. I really like her. I'm a big fan, and she has just released a song called "Bright Star." Have you been listening to it?
Oh, no, I haven't heard it.
Ah, so beautiful. It makes me cry almost every time I listen to it. But it's about um, this bright star, and I don't. It could be anything, but it's like something that you're longing for, and that
Mm.
gives life direction and everything like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then it's like, oh, you've been guiding me, and I've been longing so much. So like the side of you that made me go on travels and go to all these different harbors and blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
And then as the song unfolds, she's singing about like, but a bright star, it's not you. You don't know anything. It's not you I've been hanging out with. You're not the winds my sails have wrestled. You're not the friends with whom I reveled, and you will
Mm.
never know the length I went to be a lover. And then in the end, the song ends with like bright star. If I would have flown beside you, I would not have you to guide me. So it's like the need of something far away that you can long for, so you have some kind of direction in your life. but you can never, if you go there,
Yeah.
the direction will be gone. So I think it's also something about longing, and yeah, this maybe also something a bit sentimental about it. But I've been thinking about it now that we talk about this.
Yeah, like we set
The
the
unknown.
destination. We set the destination. I mean, that point. We put that pin on the map. You know, a map of ourselves or the world or whatever it is. But we say, I want to go there, and really the purpose or the reward of it isn't the there. It's the journey in that direction. It's
Yeah,
all
it's
of
very
the
much that.
things along the way.
Yeah. Oh, that's
Liam,
good.
would
You should listen to the song. Oh,
I'm going to. It's called Bright
yeah.
Star.
Bright Star. Yeah.
Oh, you're getting your guitar. Perfect.
Yeah, your voice sounded a bit like. Would you maybe?
Yeah, play a song. Play us a song.
Yeah, I would love to, and it's a new.
I want to say for the folks who are watching, just say hi in the chat. Let us know where you are tuning in from.
Yeah.
And what is this song?
It's a new song. I write very slowly, so there are not many songs coming out of my pen in a short time. So it's like it happens. Yeah, if I give it time and space. So this summer I wrote this tune called I don't know yet. Actually, it's a love song. I never write any love songs, so it feels nice. Yeah. No. Come lay down and hold me like you've never held before. Close your eyes, sleep as if you've never slept before. Let me sing a lullaby for you. Ah, then wake up as if you've never woken up before. Look outside as if you've never seen the sunrise before. It's rising only for you and maybe for me We are home. We are home. You and I, we are home. We are.
Beautiful, gorgeous. Yeah. Oh man, thank you so much. That's beautiful.
Thank you. Thanks for
I want to
listening.
put your your website in the chat. It's Leah and the loved ones, right?
Yeah.
It's Leah and the loved ones.se, right?
Yeah. So that's one long word. And there you can find all the links to, yeah.
There we go. And it's in the show notes as well for anybody watching.
Yeah. So on the homepage there are links to Spotify and the different records and Instagram.
You know, I'm a little bit curious about just the title Song for Tom.
Yeah.
I didn't listen to that song. I listened to it at one time, I think, but there was something about the title of it that sparked my interest. Can you just say something about that song?
Yeah. I was writing it. Wait, let me see. When was that? Yeah. It was actually the melody's inspired by an Anais Mitchell song. Ha! Funny that we just talked about it. But anyway, I was writing this song it's about ending things, like giving things a proper ending, and which I think is really important. And also the whole thing we talked about, like time passing, touches me a lot. And I listen very much to Tom Waits, and I think he has this ability of writing goodbye songs and songs so sad and being really about time, and they're sentimental as hell. Or I don't know if sentimental is the right word, but like really heavy of soul and time.
Yeah.
So it was like I was like, in that time and in that feeling when I wrote the song, I was deeply inspired by Tom Waits, both his music but especially the lyrics. So it's a song for Tom Waits.
Okay.
Anyway,
I knew I wanted to ask about that. There was something I was okay, great.
Do you listen to Tom Waits a lot?
I listen to Tom Waits a little bit. I can't say that I have for a long time listened a little bit. I've never done a deep dive into Tom Waits, but a lot of songwriters that I love Tom Waits.
Yeah.
You know, that his influences on them, and so Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. I'm so curious to hear a song.
I guess I'll take us out with this. Let's see here. This is a song from, I haven't played this in a long time actually on this show, but this is a song from my new album, 1,000 Tiny Torches, and this is the song that gave the album its name, although the song is called The Calling. The 1,000 Tiny Torches from the song, in the song itself, represent fireflies. But when I was making this album, I was thinking about just all those little sparks of light that have brought me back to music, and I had run a Kickstarter campaign to support the making of this particular album, and you know, so as I was coming up with the title for the album, it came to mean these like sparks of inspiration, or these sparks that just like that bright light that you were talking about that just like helped guide me, and also all of the people that came together to help make this record, which is kind of I guess ironic as well, because this song is about being utterly alone. And so there's that. But this is 1,000 Tiny Torches, or this is the calling from the 1,000 Tiny Torches. Can you hear that okay?
Good.
The freight trains in the distance, we'll hear that whistle blow. We'll see it slipping like a serpent beneath the sunset glow, and further out the clouds are building up a storm. They're throwing bolts of lightning. They say it's gonna pour, and when someone's calling someone, and I can hear the neighbors ring. But no one's calling me. I turn up all the lamps, like a lighthouse at the bay. And tip an empty bottle to another lonely day. And off the porch in the clover, beyond the throw of light, the fireflies are blinking, the coming of the night, like 1,000 tiny torches on a broken down key. But no one's calling me. Well, that train knows where it's going. If you make it back around, and I'll be sitting in the porch light on the lonely side of town. Closer now, the clouds. It's really gonna pour. It's rumbling with thunder, like the coming of the Lord. And someone's calling someone. Can almost hear that quiet sing. No one's calling me. And no one's calling me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, beautiful. This is really, as you said, it's lovely to sit and listen to someone playing right now.
Yeah.
Mm. Yeah, what a sad song also. As you said, it's about loneliness, right?
Yeah, it's like, I felt so satisfied when I wrote that song because I didn't know what it was about. You know, when I started it, I wasn't setting out to write about an existential crisis.
No.
But when I came to the end of the song, I felt this deep satisfaction that I had written about this feeling that I was just so well acquainted with, and had never tried to put into words, or never had really tried to express it in a song. So yeah, thank you.
Beautiful.
Leah, thank you so much for spending your evening with me, talking about books and all kinds of other things, math, language, time, tears,
Yeah,
water.
all the good stuff.
All the good stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm
thank you
really
for having me.
grateful.
I'm having a blast. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm so glad that we're in touch and that we're connected, and we will continue to be. And
Yeah.
when you're in LA, when you're in the US, and when I'm in Europe, I can't
Yeah.
wait to play shows together.
Yeah. Same here. Same here. And thanks you for having me. I love this. I love this format. I love this podcast. And yeah, books and songs are really two so delicious things in life. So I love that you combine them and have this show. I'm looking forward to listening a lot. And
Yeah.
yeah.
I also want to thank you for having a great backdrop for the show today as well. That's just perfect to have a bookshelf behind.
Thank you. I'm very satisfied as well.
Before I let you go, is there anything that you want to promote? Should anybody particularly take any kind of action besides, of course, following you on Spotify or wherever they listen to music?
I mean, we will be. No, I don't hear anything anymore. We will be playing in Gothenburg on the 10th of December.
Oh, great.
In a show at Skeppet, Göteborg, if there's anybody from Sweden listening. So it will be our next big concert. But otherwise, I mean, check out our Bandcamp and buy our records. We're so proud of both of them.
Yeah.
And a couple of them have been shipped to the US already, so I would love to ship more. They're beautiful vinyls. So, no, just follow us and check out the music. And I think there will be some new music coming soon.
Great.
Maybe, yeah, it will. It's written now, so it will maybe next year, maybe the year after. But just follow us, and we will let you know if there's something happening.
Yeah. You know what I realized as songwriters and performers, and for me as a host of this show, one of the jobs, I guess, that I have is to help people know how to support independent music, to help people know, because years ago, perhaps nobody ever thought about it. We went down to a record store and bought a record. But nowadays, when it's so easy to listen to music for free, but music is not free to record. It's not free to even just the time to write a song. That's time, and that is also not free.
Yeah.
So how can people support the making of this kind of music that's not on major labels, for artists like us? And I think that there are the free ways that people can support by subscribing and liking and following and adding music to playlists and sharing and just giving shout outs every once in a while when they think of us on social media and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then also, buying those vinyl records or those CDs, going out to see shows or online shows and supporting the online shows.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
I can show you the record. I have it here. If you want to see it.
Please,
Our babies. The new one is this one here.
Yeah, I love that cover. Yeah.
Isn't it beautiful? Oh,
yeah, it's really nice, and that's the cover art for your website as well right now.
Exactly, and that's the place. That's the photos taken at the place where we recorded the album.
Oh.
On the West Coast, and here's the picture of the band. It's too much light.
Yeah, I'm getting it there.
Yeah. So it's that one, and then we have our debut. This one is actually available both as a vinyl and as a CD.
I was wondering about that photograph. Where was that taken? For that
it was taken also where we recorded that album. It was another place, but it was just outside the house, out in the countryside where we recorded. It was in front of the same bush.
And this is in Sweden that it was recorded?
Yeah. Both of them on the west coast, the Swedish west coast. So it's like the Los Angeles of Sweden.
Yeah. Just like it, I'm sure.
Yeah, just like it, exactly the same. Yeah, and I had this friend who lived with me from Canada who takes pictures with this old kind of camera.
Yeah.
Did you look?
Where you look down, yeah.
Yeah, so they were taking with that. Yeah, so buy the records and give them as a Christmas present to your
This is the
beloveds.
time of year. Yeah,
this
is
exactly.
the time of year to
exactly.
buy gifts for other people.
Yeah.
Especially.
Yeah.
Leah, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Really grateful for the conversation.
It was an honor, really.
Yeah. Okay, you
Thank
stay right there.
Yeah.
And I'm going to do this. And thank you all for listening. This is a weekly show, Tomes and Tunes. This was episode 76. And I met Leah back in May. Here we are in November. Sometimes it takes a little while to coordinate schedules and all of that stuff, but it's such a treat. It's really a treat. So thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Thank you for supporting Leah and the loved ones. Follow her everywhere. And thank you for blah, 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 for letting me stumble on my words. As I say, thank you for supporting the projects that I'm working on, both music and this podcast. So until we meet again, next week on the schedule is Jenny Von West from Maine, from the East Coast of the U.S., and I'm super excited to talk with her. She and I have been trying to coordinate this for a little while, so come back next week, watch the archives on my website, on YouTube, and until we meet again, take good care.